Family drama. Am I the a-hole for telling my parents I can't forgive my siblings for them? I am my parents' only child. When I, 21 female, was a kid, my half-siblings from my mom's first marriage did not take my arrival well. In part, because their dad was a jerk who didn't want my mom to remarry, and poison them against me. In part, because they thought it was gross that I wasn't their dad's kid as well. My mom actually let them go live with their dad, after years of them acting out against me and my dad. They called us names, bullied me relentlessly, and no amount of therapy and discipline helped. One time I was coloring a picture of my family, and the oldest, who was 13 at the time, got into my face and told me to stop drawing us all because they hated me, and didn't want someone gross like me being their family. My mom told him to apologize. He told her to get freaking rid of me. She took away all his stuff and sent him to his room. He blamed me. Told me if I had never been born, his and my sister's life would have been better, and that they and their dad used to pray together that I wouldn't be born. I was maybe like 5 at this point. Another time, my mom was trying to help the bond by taking one of them out with me at a time. And it was my mom, my sister and me this particular time. She wandered off repeatedly, and said she didn't want to hang out with me. My mom tried really hard to get her to engage, and we left when my sister found one of her friends there, and told her I was still wetting the bed at 6, and wasn't I so gross. My mom punished her for that too. Again, it was seen as all my fault. I think it might have been sometime after that, when my mom agreed to let them stay with their dad. They still continued talking crap about me to their friends. They invited mom to their birthdays and high school graduations, but not me or my dad. I actually ended up with a lot of issues because of them. Low self-esteem followed, and I was bullied repeatedly in school. At first because of the esteem issues, and then some kids knew my siblings didn't want me, and used that to hurt me. At 16 I was diagnosed with depression and was in a really bad place. I'm in a better place now, and my siblings have apologized to my parents for how they acted. My parents want me to give them a chance to apologize to me and to be in my life. But I don't think I'll ever be able to. A lot of the stuff they said to me, stuck in my head even more than a decade later. I do believe they might have grown, and realized their dad was wrong to say and do what he did. My parents think I'm being unfair, and have asked me to do it for them, even if I don't want to do it for me or my siblings. I told them I can't. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. My parents think I'm being unfair, and have asked me to do it for them, even if I don't want to do it. I think your parents are being unfair expecting you to make them feel better. Told me if I had never been born, his and my sister's life would have been better, and that they and their dad used to pray together that I wouldn't be born. Geez, that kid has issues. Not the a-hole OP, I wouldn't want anything to do with them. Your parents need to get a grip. Both of them said things like that to me a lot. Some of it really dark, and not what you would expect to hear from kids their age. I also know some stuff from grandparents about when I was born in the first 2 or 3 years of my life, that my parents would not like me knowing. I'm really sorry, that sounds super rough. I hope you can stay in that better place. Don't let them pull you back into that mess. It was. There's a lot of stuff that went on in the first few years of my life, and I honestly don't think I am still fully better after it. I'm just in a much better place than I was before. Not the a-hole. WTF, your siblings apologized to your parents? Did they start to apologize to you? To acknowledge the wrong they did, the bullying, getting out of their way to hurt you? You don't have to once again force yourself to accommodate them, just because they grew a conscience. No amount of time will erase the fact that they were preying on their baby sister. You only need to take care of your mental health, and they are not the kind of person to have around. All this is about them, they seek their redemption. Your parents hope to have a Christmas calendar family picture. No one asks what you need or want. Dear parents, after a long time trying to get better after my mental health was left in pieces because of the relentless bullying of the step-siblings, I really don't need to feel pressured to get along with my former abusers. I understand they might have realized that they did me wrong, but their salvation doesn't depend on me, and it is unfair to put so much expectations on my shoulders after all I already been through. No a-holes here, leaning towards NTA. Forgiveness is between you and the person who wronged you. Third parties might hope it happens, but it's not their issue. What they did to you has lasting effects. They were kids too, kids who were dealing with a crappy situation too, with insecurities over parents splitting, scared of new baby taking their mother away and their total a-hole father making it all so much worse, and, reading between the lines, probably encouraging their resentment of you to gain advantages. Which worked when he got the kids. That they and their dad used to pray together that I wouldn't be born. Holy crap. They were being emotionally mistreated by their dad. None of which means you owe them anything. It might mean at some point in future you might want to hear them out, but you have no obligation to do so. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for denying my parents access to my room while changing? So, I know it sounds weird but let me explain. Due to Corona, I had to move from campus to my parents' house again. Since I moved back, I started to have a major argument with my parents. My parents often come into my room due to various reasons. I feel like they are looking for reasons to come into my room. Since it started annoying me, I started to lock my door to ensure my privacy. So one day, I was changing in my room after a shower, and my mother wanted to come into my room. I told her to wait because I was changing, and she got mad because she wanted to come in now. I told her I don't want her to see me while changing and that she has to wait. She got mad at me for this, because she thinks it's disrespectful towards our relationship. When I told her I simply don't want anybody to watch me changing, she called me a hypocrite because I have pictures in my bikini on my Instagram. When I said these are two different things, because in that one scenario I want to be seen, and I'm giving my consent to the viewer, and in the other, I'm trying to be alone and I don't want to be seen. She simply said it's her house and her rules, and if I want to continue living with them, my door has to be unlocked all the time. I simply told her I'd rather move out again and try to pay for my own place, than to continue living with someone that doesn't value my privacy. She thinks I'm dramatic and overreacting, and damaging our relationship due to something so minor, but I really feel devalued in my privacy. Now for the top comments. Nobody, not even your parents, should want that badly to enter a room when you're changing. It's one thing to knock and ask to come in when you're just lounging about in your room, but when you said you were changing, that should have been the end of the conversation. This is not normal parent behavior. This is freaking creepy. Stand your ground. Not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. Your parents have no respect for your privacy. I'm baffled that they think it's perfectly normal to come into their adult children's room while they're changing. This is extremely baffling. My mother will always knock if my door is closed, even though I have told her she can just walk right in because I change in the bathroom after a shower. She knocks anyway just in case, because she respects my privacy. An example of completely normal healthy behavior and the polar opposite of OP's. I worry for what other crap OP has to endure, if this is what made it onto AITA. Not the a-hole. Her right to watch you change, is a very weird hill for your mother choose to die on. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for not telling my parents I was moving out of the house until after I signed my lease to my new apartment? I, 20 female, have been planning to move out of my family's house with my boyfriend, 20 male, for a few months now, for various reasons. Not wanting to be around my family is somewhat a factor, but I mostly want to be closer to the city where I can go into my lab and my job, and eventually classes without having to endure a very long and costly transit to and from the city. My parents are extremely conservative Asian people. They would not approve of me moving out alone in the first place, much less moving in with my boyfriend together. I know, I should have given them more notice, but I was just afraid. I have worked up the courage to finally tell my mom that I was having severe mental health issues, and that I needed help before, and she told me that I was weak for thinking that and that everyone thought that, so I needed to grow up. That set me on a path of health decline that lasted for a few years, and ever since then, it's been incredibly difficult to open up to her about anything important in my life. They also treat me like I am a child all the time, despite all the research and preparation I do to be reasonable and knowledgeable when I come to them with a problem or plan, so I have lots of built-up trauma regarding that. When I told them the news, my mom lost it and cried for 3 hours, and when my dad found out, he asked me why I ever thought this was a good idea and if this was normal to me. I responded that I never thought or said it was a good idea, but that the reason I couldn't say anything was because I was afraid, so deathly afraid of being cruelly turned down or not taken seriously again, of being treated like I didn't know what I was doing. He then cut me off, told me I was to never speak to him again, and slammed the door so hard he broke it. He canceled my data plan, tuition payments, and car insurance, which I understood and took as a reasonable response to a shocking piece of news. But I was stunned to see that he had canceled my health insurance as well, which I took to mean that in the era of COVID, he would rather have me die than disobey him, and make decisions without consulting him. I don't think of a man who wants to kill me as my dad anymore. I thought that if I told my parents and opened up about feeling afraid to come to them with important life decisions, they would come from at least some place of empathy and hear me out despite the shock they felt at the sudden news. I don't know if I even have the right to distinguish what was right from what was wrong at this point. Leaving the house was something I needed to do, and although I know the path I took wasn't ideal, I felt that it was the only thing I could do. However, I feel horrible now because my mom is incredibly upset and the man who used to be my father does not love me anymore because of what I did. I don't know how to feel and if I should apologize to both of them. Reddit, am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Your parents are so controlling that you felt afraid to tell them. What you did, is what abuse victims do to escape their abusers. If you had have told them, they may have had time to gaslight you and stop you from leaving their control, as proven by your dad's actions. I'm sorry that you're in this situation. Getting away from them is a really good step in recovering from that control. That was my course of thought. I was just so afraid that I'd be gaslit into believing I was in the wrong all over again, so I decided to do the thing before I told them I did the thing. I just feel bad because I have never seen them like this though. Not the a-hole. Sounds like moving out, as hard as it is something that you needed to do. Yeah, I felt I needed this for an extremely long time. My parents live in a world where I am whoever they want me to be, as long as they want me to be. They would insist on calling my boyfriend my special friend, because they felt uncomfortable with the word boyfriend. I am 20. If you don't mind me asking, are your parents first-generation immigrants? I noticed this a lot being the child of first-generation immigrants. I am actually first-generation along with my parents. My mom moved to the US shortly after having me, then I immigrated to the US when I was around 5. Now for the last story. My 23 male mother, 51 female, thinks I owe her for raising me. She basically wants me to be her parent now and is acting like the most spoiled child on the planet. I am absolutely through with being my mother's servant. Her belief is that, because she raised me and took me on all kinds of adventures as a kid, I now need to do the same for her. She is the kind of woman I could do 99 things for, and she'd get really upset over the one thing I didn't do. This stems from decades of neglect. She was neglected as a kid and neglected by her husband, who died a few months ago. So, it's all on me now. My parents were in an unhappy marriage for years, until my dad passed away a few months ago. Since then, she's become pathologically dependent on me. Ever since I was 20, she's depended on me emotionally, and COVID and Dad's death made everything a million times worse. It's got to the point now where she basically expects me to be her court jester, going so far as to guilt trip me when I have work to do, and don't have time to run around catering to her every need. I do 90% of the chores because of her arthritis as it is, which I'm now beginning to wonder if she's actually milking/exaggerating because she's too lazy to do any jobs herself. But her reasoning is that, she did all this for me as a kid, now I need to look after her in return. Before Dad died, I was always dragged into their arguments from her, and made to take her side. If I didn't take her side and give Dad a good talking to, she would get extremely nasty. If I did oblige and give Dad a good talking to, she'd tell me it wasn't enough. This was based on the reasoning that she helped me out as a kid when I was being bullied. Now I need to do the same for her. Since Dad died, she has done nothing to look after me. She only cares about herself. She has said her needs matter too, but she's actually completely disregarding mine. When I woke up at the night having an asthma attack and barely able to breathe, I got in trouble for scaring her and waking her up. She never used to be like this growing up. Growing up, I came first always. She even once caught Nora to sit by my side and make sure I was better. But now she thinks now that I'm an adult, I should do the same for her. And now that it's her birthday approaching, she's acting more entitled than ever. She has spent 3 hours guilt-tripping and shouting at me because I haven't done enough for her birthday. I basically haven't mentioned her birthday enough. She's acting like a complete 6-year-old about her birthday. I've only gone and gotten her a cake, card, loads of presents and organized a gathering, which is not easy to do in COVID. And she still had the nerve to tell me it wasn't enough because I didn't organize anything for the evening. This is because she did all those birthdays for me, but nobody ever did any big birthdays for her. And because she had the trauma of COVID and losing her husband, she deserved a bigger birthday than ever this year. Never mind the fact I lost my father, and everything I had going in my life. Trying to reason with her is impossible. She will play any card to shut me up and invalidate how I feel. She even said I was being selfish for not doing enough for her birthday. I have sacrificed my social life, my job, my independence, my freedom and my goddamned happiness for this woman for most of this year. I've spent what must be 1,000 hours catering to her every need, while she's done crap all for me this year. And she says I'm selfish. What a freaking cheek. I'm starting to wish she hadn't done all that stuff for me as a child, if she expected me to repay her when I was an adult. Oh, and she's extremely irritable too, and will often have a huge tantrum at me over minor inconveniences. She's also totally unable to look after herself. I even have to look after her car. What do I do? She has me round her finger, and at 23, I have no clue how to deal with a narcissistic parent. Now for the top comments. R/raised by narcissists. My mom has the same mind frame, where she expects me and my brothers to take care of her when she's older. It's such an abusive way of thinking. People shouldn't be having children for them. We didn't ask to be born. We definitely wouldn't have asked to be born if we knew the real reason behind why. People should have children to give their child the best life they can without expecting anything back. Same. My mother is the exact same way and it annoys me to no end. I come from an Asian background, but it seems pretty common in my culture. What do I do? Move out. If it doesn't stop, go no contact. You can't control what she does, but you can control what you do. Are you financially dependent on her? Do you live with her? If so, find a way to start supporting yourself so you can get away from her right away. If not, cut her off. You aren't required to be her parent, and it doesn't have to be your problem that she resorts to acting like a toddler when she doesn't get her way. Either way, you need to glow or no contact. Don't let her ruin your life. My thoughts exactly. Feel like OP might be leaving out some essential info here. And that's it for this video guys. If you have thoughts to share, leave a comment below. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you like this content. I'll catch you in the next one. Good day everyone.